Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
Today we are here with the third week of our Advent Memento Mori devotional. Now, 2 weeks ago, we did the first week and we discussed death, Jess's favorite subject.
It's sad and depressing and festive.
Last week we discussed judgment and how it's one of the tougher ones. It's one of the tougher of the last four for people to really get behind.
I'm still imagining Mike being in charge of judgment, and everyone who made a bad call on a football game is out.
We'd all be
right out.
We'd all be so screwed.
This week
no refs getting into heaven.
This
Mike's
week,
world.
Not a one. Not a one.
This week is the third week of Advent, which is Gaudete.
Gaudete, Christus est natus.
Yes, it's the week in which we are joyful. And
not just because Father and Deacon were dressed like cotton candy.
That's right. And so to really kick off that week of joy in this Advent season, we're going to talk about hell.
Ah, hell.
And our priest's favorite, Advent person of John the Baptist, who calls everyone a brood of vipers.
You hear that, you brood of vipers?
They are all broods of vipers.
And he still uses the whole, you never see him on a Christmas card, even though we explicitly made him Christmas cards with broods of vipers, or at least snakes.
Well, this is what happens when you're at a parish for an entire decade. You've got a shtick, and yet people have actually adjusted to it.
Yeah.
Although it is great that you give them that card every year.
Well, not every year.
Well...
Sometimes it just ends up on the screens during the part of the homily.
So, in the gospel today, from Luke chapter 7, the Lord is talking about John the Baptist.
Yep, and as we were discussing artwork last week, the third Thursday of Advent has this really nice piece of Saint Michael, showing Saint Michael the angel fighting the dragon.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, and as the prayer from Pope Leo teaches us, or reminds us, contrary to what popular culture has taught us, the Bible's fairly explicit that the devils and the demons are still roaming about the earth.
Yeah, they're not in hell like most people think.
They're not safely in hell where they're contained. Right now, they will be one day, but right now they're still out and about and tempting us and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, one of the things we should do to avoid hell is emulate the virtue of John the Baptist. This is not a guy
who... Should we eat some locusts?
If you are called to that, absolutely eat locusts and wild honey and wear camel skins. But
I don't think I can get camel skins in this area.
Well, you have to make some local adaptations. It's relative, especially during Advent. It's colder here than it is generally in the Middle East.
Yeah.
But whatever it takes, we should all live as radically as the Baptist.
Yeah.
And today had, and part of the reading, something that I had heard once or twice as a suggestion, that, it's an interesting thing to ponder, because he's John the Baptist. The whole thing is he baptizes people. And most people are like, but he never got baptized in the Bible. Mm-hmm. But some people are like, but he totally did.
Boom.
Way back in Luke 1.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings up an interesting question of, how many people in the Bible were born without original sin?
Depending on how we talk about the term born, 3.
Yes. Because many theologians argue that essentially he was baptized when Mary went to visit Elizabeth.
Yeah, he leapt in the womb for joy.
Yes.
We also have a great quote from John Chrysostom, who once wrote that John the Baptist lived as though he were in heaven. Because that is what each of us is called to do.
I don't remember any insects in any version of heaven.
Ah, no. Living as if he's in heaven.
I think I'm going to be able to eat all the insects I want.
No, there'll be all the insects in heaven.
Crickets can be tasty if you fry them right.
Boom. Well, again, it's difficult for us to see now because we live in a fallen world. But the insects were created by God good. I don't know how locusts are going to fit into the world to come, but all the evidence we have suggests that there will be the perfected version of locusts in the world to come.
Perhaps the thing that keeps the locusts in check is simply missing from this world.
This is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Or there's super abundant, so locusts can't locust.
Yeah.
Just like, I know, objectively, mosquitoes must have been originally created for some good in mind.
But I can't imagine what that is.
I mean, their best good is the fact that other animals eat them.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what it is. They're meant to feed the bats. And the other things.
Bats are cute. A bat wouldn't spit up on me. Hey, we paid to see the bats. That was an extra bonus.
Awesome. I love every part of this.
I told someone that at a store once, and she's like, "Oh, that sounds so great." She's like, "Want more information?"
Yeah! Let's talk about this for an hour.
I mean, it was during Halloween, and she had a bat tattoo, so you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But no, we're talking about John the Baptist.
And hell.
Week 3 is John the Baptist week.
John the Baptist.
And hell.
So, you know,
well, I mean, he stated you have to make straight the path.
yeah.
Therefore, it's the crooked pathing that is,
That
hellbound.
is problematic, yes.
Yeah. The Lord also refers to it as the narrow path. So it's not necessarily straight because we don't yet live in that perfect world where all the roads have been made straight.
You've seen road work. If you want it done right, you can either get a wide, winding path, or you can get one there's like, all right, we have just enough lanes going, especially like through the mountains and stuff. It's like, these are your options. We're only building so many tunnels.
We're blasting through a mountain. Of course it's going to be narrow. But by what criticism means by the Baptist lived as if he were in heaven is not necessarily the bug eating, but just he lived free. He wasn't beholden to any power of this earth. And that is heaven. Because to the extent that we are constrained, that our freedom is compromised by anything in this world, we're not living that life of heaven.
That's fair. Yeah.
The Baptist, not saying that he was immaculate, but he was free. Because he wasn't enslaved to sin or convention.
There you go.
So he was living the life of heaven. He's completely devoted to the Lord's will, even though that made him an outsider and eventually got his head cut off.
No, the getting his head cut off thing was really more the
I mean,
right.
it correlates.
It kind of all ties together, but yeah.
I mean, I'm sure lots of other people were thinking,
that was primarily,
hey, your relationship is totally messed up, but no one told the authorities because they were the authorities.
Yeah. And it was primarily initially due to a rash vow, which we already had an episode on rash vows. You can go back and see our Chesterton series.
Although that we mostly came out in favor of them.
Did we?
True. In his case, he was talking about in favor of them.
Oh.
But yes, in the Bible, usually rash vows turn out badly.
Well, it's because of an inadequate consideration of the hierarchy of goods. Being embarrassed in front of all your guests and having to break your word, not good. But objectively superior to cutting off the head of an innocent man and presenting it on a silver platter.
Yeah. An innocent man who simply pissed off your wife.
And you. But
yeah. But clearly, much more your wife, as she was willing to,
use her daughter to get it. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
We're back on our
Go down below.
Welcome to Advent. We're cutting off heads.
It's a happy week, so we're discussing hell and murder.
And decapitations. Woo! And bats spitting up on us, which is happy.
She was happy.
I'm happy.
Bats didn't spit up on my friends that took us. They were very jelly.
Mm-hmm. All the spit for you.
Yep. So go down below and leave a comment section as to any thoughts you might have about things that were discussed today.
Broods of vipers.
Broods of vipers.
Decapitation.
John the Baptist.
Making your priest wear pink. Possibly you have one of those priests that's like, it's rose, not pink. At which point, you can remind them again that rose is Latin for pink.
Yeah, we'll link to our episode, Pretty in Pink. We think we did that earlier. But,
probably.
But even though it is already Thursday and the Sunday has passed, we urge you, as much as possible, to dress liturgically on the third Sunday of Advent. Wear pink to encourage your priests and deacons.
Yes, stand in solidarity with your priest.
That giant cotton candy priest. And until next time, remember to
live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.